Good day. Today we are going to begin exploring what happens when we remove one axiom, and that axiom is the parallel postulate. So this is like taking away one tool from a toolbox and seeing what we can still build. So the question here is, why do you think mathematician would want to study geometry without one of the axioms? So this would be the the question that we are going to delve in, okay, before having the concept of the neutral geometry. So we are going to look into the historical context, okay, of the neutral geometry. Okay, so of course, when we are having the neutral geometry, this would be a geometry without the parallel axiom. So it consists of all geometric theorems that can be proved using only the actions of the incidence, betweenness, congruence, continuity, and of course without the parallel postulate. Okay, so in other words, when we are talking about neutral geometry, it means to say that uh, neutral means we will remain neutral about whether the parallel lines exist uniquely. So these theorems work in all geometries, whether it is Euclidean, hyperbolic, or elliptic. Okay. Now take note that we are not saying that parallel postulate is false. We're just not using it yet. So think of it as geometry on pause until we decide which parallel postulate to adapt. Okay. So again, the results in neutral geometry are valid in both Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometries. Okay, so but why did mathematicians bother with this? Okay, so let's look into the history. Okay, so historical context. So we have the Euclid's fifth postulate, which is the parallel postulate. So we have here, if a straight line falling on two straight lines makes the interior angles of the same side less than two right angles rather, the two straight lines, if produced indefinitely, meet on that side. So in this case, as we can see here, they are much more complicated than the other four postulates. And then for 2000 plus years, mathematicians start to prove it from the other axioms. But of course, all of those attempts failed. Okay, so if we are going to look into the history, Euclid himself seemed uncomfortable with the fifth postulate. So technically, he avoided using it until um, the proposition 29. Okay, so the mathematicians like Proclus, we have the Omar, we have the um Sakeri, they all tried to prove it. So their failures actually led to the discovery of the non Euclidean geometry. So if you can see, okay, in the Euclid's fifth postulate, okay, um, technically, what we call this one, it is too wordy. Okay, so there are simpler versions. Okay, so somehow we can ask which version sounds more like it should be provable. Okay, so you have resolutions in 19th century. So you have the mathematicians Gauss, Lukavchevsky, Bolyai. They have proved it independently. However, it cannot be delivered uh, derived rather. It cannot be derived from the others. Okay, so neutral geometry is the study of what we can prove before we commit to any parallel postulate. So it's the common ground or the common ground shared by all geometries. Okay, so let's have Hilbert's action system. So this is just a sort of review. Okay, so we have the Hilbert's five groups of actions. So we have the incidents. Of course, you have a relationship between points, lines, and planes. We do have betweenness or the action order. So this is the order of points on the line, concepts of between. Okay. And then we have congruence action, so equality of segments and angles. Then we have the continuity actions, okay, and we do have the parallel action, but of course not used in neutral geometry. Okay, so in this case, as we can see, okay, in the what we call this one, in the five groups of Hilbert, we have technically we can divide the Hilbert's action into two groups, in two major groups rather. The first one is the neutral geometry, and the neutral geometry, of course, these are from 1 to 4. Okay, you have the incidence axiom, betweenness axiom, congruence, and continuity. And then the fifth group would be the what you call this one, the Euclidean. Okay, so again, the groups 1 to 4, this would be the neutral. And then group 5, this would be the Euclidean. Okay, so everything we prove in neutral geometry will be true whether we later add Euclid's parallel postulate or a different one, the hyperbolic, or no parallel postulate at all. Okay. So here we have the comparison. So in Euclid's postulate, line through 2 points. So that would be Hilbert's axiom 1. Okay. You have here extend segment. We have axiom the second group, okay, of Hilbert. Circle with the center or radius, we have the Hilbert's system. And then all right angles are congruent, so you have a theorem. So that's technically the proposition 3.23. Okay. And then the parallel postulate, of course, not used in neutral geometry. Okay. So in this case, notice that the Euclid's fourth postulate, all right angles are congruent, is actually a theorem in Hilbert's system. So technically, in our previous, what we call this one, in our previous discussion, we have, of course, proved, okay, okay, this one as a proposition 3.23. Okay, so why it is significant that Euclid's first four postulate can be derived from Hilbert's axiom. Okay, so it shows these are the basic or the fundamental uh, of the what we call this one uh, postulate. So the parallel postulate truly stands apart. Okay. So we have here. Can we What can we prove in neutral geometry? Okay, so if you can still remember with the what to call this the theorems that we have discussed previously. So we have here is um, base angles of isosceles triangles are congruent. Okay, we have vertical angles are congruent. We have the SAS, the ASA, the SSS congruent criteria. And then we have the exterior angle theorem. And then we have the alternative interior angle theorem. Okay, you have two lines perpendicular to the same lines are parallel. Okay, so what we cannot prove, okay, the sum of the angles in the triangle, which is 180, existence of rectangles, Pythagorean theorem, parallel postulates of any form, and then uniqueness of the parallels through a point. So notice something is somehow shocking. The angle the angle sum of a triangle being 180. So something we've used since first elementary school. However, uh, we cannot be proven without the parallel postulate. In fact, in hyperbolic geometry, it is less than 180. Okay. So what we are, what we call this one, um, what we are going to emphasize here is that we have here the first, the exterior angle theorem can, uh, we can, of course, prove it, okay, without parallel postulate. Okay. However, we cannot prove that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees without parallel postulate. So these are related, but of course they are different. Okay. So what's the purpose of studying neutral geometry? Okay. So this is technically a good time to have a brief philosophical discussion about mathematics. Okay, so why study geometry without parallels? Of course, clarify the role, okay, of the parallel postulate, the exactly which theorems needed, okay, and then avoid circulating reasoning, so don't accidentally use consequences of parallel postulate in the proofs. We have used logical structure clearly, so understand the architecture of geometry system, foundation of non-Euclidean geometry. Of course, the result applies to all geometries. You have mathematical rigor, so learn to work from minimal assumptions. Okay, so here we have here certain questions that can be answered in Euclidean geometry may not be answerable in neutral geometry because its axiom do not give us enough information. Okay, so if you can notice, mathematics um, isn't just about getting the answer. It's about understanding the why. So by removing an axiom, um, we see its importance more clearly. So this is like the what we call this one, the ablation study in science. Remove one component to see what it does. Okay. So take note here that in our proofs uh, going forward, you must be very careful not to use any results that depends on the parallel postulate. So this includes the what you call this one, the sum of the interior angles of a triangle which is equal to 180 degrees, rectangles, similar triangles, Pythagorean theorems. Okay, all of this requires the parallel postulate. So this might feel restrictive at first, but it will make you more careful, rigorous mathematicians. And when we finally add the parallel postulate later, okay, you will appreciate it much more. Okay. Identifying valid neutral geometry statements. Okay. So in this case, let's try to identify if it is a valid, okay, what we call this one, neutral geometry. So first one, you have here, for each statement, determine if it can be proven in neutral geometry. So vertical angles are congruent. So in this case, the vertical angles are congruent. Of course, this can be proven in neutral geometry. So it uses only congruence axioms and angle addition. Okay. Another, the sum of the angles is in a triangle is 180. Of course, we mentioned this one a while ago. This requires parallel postulate, so therefore it's a no. We cannot be we cannot prove this statement in neutral geometry. Another, if two sides and the included angles of one triangle are congruent to two sides and included angles of another, the triangle are or the triangles are congruent. So this is SAS. So if we can still remember with the previous slide that we had before, the SAS congruence, okay, is technically can be proved using the neutral geometry. Another, every triangle is inscribed in the circle. Okay, so in this case, it's a no. We cannot prove this one using neutral geometry. So it requires continuity and parallel postulate for the existence of circumcenter. Okay. Another, we have exterior angle. Okay. So of a triangle is greater than the remote uh, interior angle. So in this case, yes, we can prove this one. Um, Another is there exists equilateral, okay, with four right angles. So of course, we may mention this one. No, we cannot use, we cannot prove this one in the neutral geometry because we need the existence of the rectangles, which requires parallel postulate. So we have here given the line and a point, not on it, there exists at least one line through the point parallel to the given line. So the here, yes, we can, what we call this one, we can use the neutral geometry. So this is only continuity axiom. We can prove at least one parallel line exists, but we cannot prove it's unique. Okay, so somehow in the concept of uniqueness, we need a parallel postulate. So somehow in this case, you might think, okay, the number four, every triangle can be inscribed in in the circle. Um, Somehow you might think that yes, it can be proven, okay, before what you call it, we can prove this using neutral geometry, but that proof use properties of circles that depends on the parallel postulate. And then notice also that in number seven, we can prove a parallel existence, but not its uniqueness. So this is subtle rather, but important. In hyperbolic geometry, uh, take note, we have infinitely many parallel exist. So let's have another slide. Our takeaways. So neutral geometry uses Hilbert's axiom 1 to 4, not the parallel axiom. The results in neutral geometry are valid in all geometries. Many familiar theorems can be proven without parallels. Without parallels. Some fundamental results, okay, cannot be proven. Okay, studying neutral geometry clarifies the role of the parallel postulate. Okay, So let's have the alternate interior angle theorem. Okay, so we are going to prove one of the most important theorems in geometry, but with a twist. Okay, we can only prove it in one direction. Okay, so from the what we call this one, from the Euclidean geometry studies, what do we know about the interior angles and the parallel lines? Okay, so they are congruent lines. Uh, they're congruent when lines are parallel. Okay, and vice versa. So in Euclidean geometry, we have two-way relationship or the biconditional. Okay, lines are parallel implies the alternate interior angles are congruent and vice versa. Okay, but in neutral geometry, we can only prove one. The alternate interior angles are congruent. The lines are parallel, which implies lines are parallel. Okay, so the reverse of it requires parallel postulate. Okay, so we have one-way implication in neutral geometry. Okay, so we have the transversal and alternate interior angles. Okay, of course, we have the definition of transversal. Let T be the transversal to lines L and L prime, with T meeting L at point A and L prime at point C. Choose points A prime and C prime on T such that A and A prime are on the same side of T. A and A prime are on the same side of T such that A prime is not equal to B prime and not equal to C prime. Okay, so here, definition of alternate interior angles. The four angles, you have angle A prime, B prime, C, angle A, B, B prime, angle C prime, B prime, A, and angle C, B, B prime are called interior angles. Okay, and the two pairs, okay, are called the alternate interior angles. Okay, so alternate interior angle theorem. So theorem 4.1, if two lines cut by a transversal line have a pair of congruent alternate interior angles, then the two lines are parallel. Okay. So if we are going to prove, we have here given, so you have line L and L prime cut by a transversal T. So you have uh, angle A prime, B prime, C prime is congruent to angle C, B, B prime, which is the alternate interior angles. Okay. And we have to prove that uh, line L and L primes are, what do you call this one? Parallel. Okay. So the given here is our hypothesis, and the statement to prove is our conclusion. So what would be our strategy here? So we are, if let's have the indirect proof. So it's hard to prove lines don't meet directly, but we assume they don't meet, okay, and find a contradiction. So here we have to assume that the opposite side of what we want to prove, okay, and then use logical reasoning to reach a um, contradiction. And of course, we are going to conclude the opposite assumption must be false. Therefore, the original statement is true. Okay, so, okay, again, we are not using parallel postulate in this proof. Okay, so we are actually proving the lines are parallel based on the angle congruence. Okay, so here are our what we call this one proof assumptions for contradiction. So assume on the contrary that L and L prime meet at point D. Say D is on the same side of T as C and C prime. Okay. So this would be our statement. So you have first statement, uh, angle A prime B C is congruent to angle C B B prime. So this is given, okay, in the alternate interior angles. Assume that L and L prime meet at point D on the same side as C and C prime. Okay, so this is our contradiction. Okay, so D is on the same side of T as C. So this is from step 2. So there is a unique ray AE prime between AB and BB prime. So this is actually axiom C. Okay. And then you have angle BAE is congruent to angle BCX, where X is the opposite side of CB from D. So this is axiom C. That's 4 again. And then there is a unique point E on CX such that CE is congruent to BE. So this is axiom C. C-1. Okay. So the triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CBD. So this is SAS. Okay. And then angle triangle ABE, angle AEB is congruent to CDB. Okay. Of course, CPCTC. However, you have here E lies on L, which is a contradiction. So E is the opposite side of T from D, but angles such as E on I, or on L rather. Therefore, since there's a contradiction, you have L parallel to L prime. So the assumption in step 2 leads to contradiction. Therefore, L and L prime cannot meet. Okay. Now, take note now when we are talking about C-4, this is angle construction theorem, action rather. So, if you can still remember, when we are saying C-4, uh, given array, we can construct a congruent angle on specified side. Okay. So, we are now proven the alternate interior angles without using the parallel postulate. So why we can't prove the converse? Okay, there is missing converse now. We cannot prove the neutral geometry if uh, two lines or line L and parallel to L prime, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so why not? To prove the converse, we would need to know that parallel lines have unique transversal with specific angles properties, but this requires parallel postulate. Okay, so um, somehow uh, take note here that you have parallel lines implies angle congruent. And we need to assume that parallel lines exist uniquely. But that's exactly what the parallel postulate gives us. Okay. In hyperbolic geometry, okay, we have here where the parallel line postulate is false, we can have parallel lines where alternate interior angles are not congruent. So uh, through a point not on a line, infinitely many parallel lines exist in the hyperbolic geometry. And um, there's uh, these different parallel lines makes different angles with transversal. So the parallel doesn't guarantee any specific angle relationship. Okay, so you are accustomed to Euclidean geometry to use the converse of theorem 4.1, which says if two lines cut by a transversal are parallel, then the alternate interior angles cut by a transversal are congruent. Okay, take note, we haven't proved this converse. So don't use it for now. Okay. So somehow this might feel frustrating because we're used to it. Okay, we're used to the converse being true. But this restriction is what makes neutral geometry interesting. So where we are actually seeing exactly what the parallel postulate gives us. Okay. So here in neutral geometry, the alternate interior angles are congruent implies uh, the lines are parallel. But uh, need parallel postulates if we are going to prove that if you have parallel lines, okay, implies alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so you have the perpendiculars or two same lines are parallel. Okay, so here two lines perpendicular to the same line are parallel. So if we are going to walk through in this case, so you have here if L is perpendicular to T and M is perpendicular to T, then L is parallel to M. Okay. So again, you have um, if L is perpendicular to T and M is perpendicular to T. So we can imagine that L perpendicular to T at let's say point P. Okay. So let's suppose this one. If L and T, L perpendicular to T and M is perpendicular to T, then the alternate interior angles are both right angles, hence congruent. Okay. Which by theorem 4.1, L is is parallel to M. Okay. So what does it imply? So you can imagine that you have L is perpendicular to T at point P. And then you have M is perpendicular to T at point Q. Okay. And then since they are perpendicular, it implies that the angle P is equal to 90 degrees. And angle Q also is equal to 90 degrees. So since they are both 90 degrees, we can now say that angle P is congruent to angle Q because all right angles are congruent. Okay. And these are alternate interior angles. And since they are alternate interior angles, so we have now using the theorem 4.1. Therefore, they are parallel to each other. So take note now, proposition 3.23, uh, all right triangles are congruent. So this has been proven in our previous discussion. Okay, using only the congruence action and no parallel postulate needed. Okay. So take note on the uniqueness. So this proves um, perpendicular or parallel. Okay. It does not prove there's only one perpendicular through a point. That uniqueness requires more work or parallel postulates. So we can uh, somehow we can ask, can someone state what we call this one? Why does this follows from 4.1? Parang ganun siya. So let's have corollary to existence of parallel lines. If L is any line and P is any point not on L, there exists at least one line M through P parallel to L. Okay, so take note here. Okay, okay, at least one parallel line exists, and this is not uh, exactly one. Okay, so you can start with what they call this one construction the perpendicular T from P to L, and then construct line M through P perpendicular to T. Okay, so in this case, we can start with line L and point P, not on L. Okay, and then the proposition 3.16 guarantees that we can drop a perpendicular from point P to line L. And we call the foot of this perpendicular with point F. Now, construct another perpendicular through point P. Okay, perpendicular to line T. Okay, so call this line as line L, a line M rather. Okay, so by corollary, M is perpendicular to T and L is perpendicular to T. So M is parallel to L. So notice the construction is very specific. We use two perpendiculars. So this guarantees that at least one parallel line exists. Okay. So the big question here is it the only parallel through P? Of course, the answer is we do not know. In neutral geometry, we can't answer this question. Okay, different geometries give different answers. So for example, in Euclidean, exactly one parallel. Okay, in hyperbolic, infinitely many parallels, and then the elliptic, no parallel at all. Okay, so this corollary shows that the concept of parallel lines makes sense in neutral geometry. So we can prove they exist. What we can't prove is the uniqueness. Okay, later we will see the that assuming uniqueness is equivalent to uh, Euclid's fifth postulate.